What's up, world?
I just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
They
Insert here.
Yo.
It's a terrible game. Bottom line. It's terrible in every way. Graphically, it's terrible. Gameplay is terrible. It's just terrible.
Angry Nick mad.
That game sucked, and it's gonna suck no matter how many revisions they make, and it just sucked even more because they put a Connect with it.
Angry Nick mad. Or if there's violence, I'll just laugh and enjoy the fun.
Kaz Harari.
Kaz Harai.
They just kind of got tired of Angry Nick on the first one and said, I'm going to pass.
Oh, yes, I do. Precisely.
No.
I
No.
do all my work.
No.
And
You guys are
unfortunately,
so
I don't.
cute.
Oh, thank you. I try.
I mean, let's face it, Mario, and to a lesser extent Zelda, is what carries Nintendo at this point.
Always be radical.
I love you, little podcast. You're the bestest thing ever.
For the promise of the new Super Smash Bros. And the Zelda game, yes.
Will not find a better story presented in any other game genre, in my personal opinion. Like, JRPGs have that. They have that story.
That's what the entire game felt like. Oh my god, I want to bang my head into a wall.
It's podcast again? Can someone remind me? I thought it was a video game podcast.
You're listening to the Game Source Podcast.
Hey,
you get it? Oh, go ahead. You first.
Hey, this is Aaron, OSU Water Polo, here with Gerald, otherwise known as Yes Elvis Lives of YourGameSource.com.
I think that's going to be my whole moniker. Instead of making it Yes Elvis Lives, it's Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Lives, because it's the whole thing. It seems like I say a lot.
Yes.
Welcome, and thanks again for being part of our Game Source podcast. We're going to give this a try here.
B.
Yes, 106B.
Yes, I just drew a B in the air. I know no one could figure out what that is, but whatever.
It's our second stab at it, but great to try it again. Thanks again for watching, or listening for that matter, right here at the world-famous Game Source podcast. This podcast, we're not going to cover a whole lot as far as the news aspect. We're just going to cover as far as, because we're taping this on the verge of really the big time of the year for video game fans and video game sales. We're covering the holiday season, so we're going to take a look at some titles that maybe you're counting on this holiday season for as far as it's concerned. Some titles that may or may not be looking at, and we'll judge whether or not those titles will succeed this fall. And then last but not least, take a look at definitely what the console makers are going to do and how they're going to proceed, because we have some very definitive thoughts on both. On all three, Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. So I want to start with you, Aaron, as far as your thoughts on, actually what's coming out the week we make this podcast. And that's going to be the game that you have a definite high opinion on, Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. What are your thoughts on it so far? Where do you think it's going to go? And how does that lean into the and I'm going to say this, I'm sorry to say this, the problems for Nintendo fans and the stigma that's there, because the issues with the Wii U version still not even having a definite release date as of this point.
Let's see. I think it's going to be a big pillar of their holiday release schedule. They definitely are, for the 3DS for sure, relying on that. I don't think Amiibo is going to, take the number one spot for them with only 12 figures, and it only works with Smash Brothers.
They haven't even, after initially talking about it and initially showing them, they've kind of quieted or cooled the Amiibo aspect of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything except from E3, and then, they were available for pre-order. That's the extent of what I've heard of them. But
with Skylanders, I'll tell you this, with Skylanders and Disney Infinity, they both had a lot of pub, especially in the weeks going into the release of both of these series. And Amiibo, you have to consider as an alternative to those two different IPs.
I don't know. I don't know that I really consider it an alternative because they are built for one specific game series, whereas Amiibo, it's going to be collectible characters with game functionality for multiple different games. So while they are similar, they're more like cousins and siblings.
But to the consumer, you got to remember, to the general consumer, you could throw Skylanders, Disney Infinity, and Amiibos in a hat, and then they're all going to think it's the same thing.
Yes. And unfortunately, they'd be wrong, but Nintendo has not done a very good job of explaining what exactly Amiibo is going to do.
Why do you think there is that sudden silence on the project?
Because I think they rushed them. I think they needed a whole nother year on them. But the problem was, if you waited a whole nother year, you weren't getting it for Smash, and Smash is going to be probably the best time to sell it other than a system launch. It works with Smash, but as far as I've heard, it only lets you save your character settings, basically, so that you can take your Amiibo to a friend's house and play it on their Wii U with your settings and your things unlocked. It's kind of like a really cool USB port. That's what Amiibo is to me at this point in time. It's collectible characters on top of a USB port. And when I think of it like that, it depends on how much storage room there is, but that's not a terrible price scheme for a USB with a character.
I want to ask you again on this. I know I did before in a previous semi-recording. The 3DSs that are available that are available currently that they're going to promote as far as with the bundles, the Super Smash 3DS bundles, the NES Remix, Classic NES 3DS bundle. What are your thoughts as far as, do you think that this is going to be somewhat confusing with the new 3DS coming in over the landscape, because it's basically telling consumers, we want you to buy this now, but oh wait, in the not too distant future, we want to buy a new one because it's going to have more of such and such and such and such. That's
going to be more features on it that are required for specific games. It's not just a bigger screen or a longer battery life. Hardware upgrades. It's actual physical features.
Well, what does Nintendo say to someone that just bought that 3DS this holiday? That Super Smash Bros. 3DS this holiday?
Well, I think Nintendo's going to say, go buy a new one, you're out of luck. Unfortunately, NOA is behind the ball on it. I believe both Japan and Europe have announced bundles for the new 3DS. Supposedly
Would you have waited to next holiday? Would you have waited to next holiday on that?
No, because they had to get it out with Smash and Amiibo. Because there's so many things that Smash does that an Amiibo is going to do that system does. And if I don't go buy the adapter for my current system, because I know they're going to come out with that system next year, and as soon as I heard Amiibo was having a 3DS adapter, I knew there was another system coming. I'm in shock it was this year. I'm glad it was this year. I just wish they'd make bundles on it. But they have to capitalize on all the hype that Smash is going to bring. This is probably going to be one of their best 3DS Christmases on record because of Smash. I think people are going to want to go out and grab a system and play Smash. And if they can get the system, there's no release date on the system in the States, is there? I haven't heard one.
No, but while we're having this podcast, I'm going to be checking it, and I can look at it.
I know I've heard European bundles announced for it for this holiday, so that's where I'm kind of confused. But it's just, why are all of the bundles the old system? Yes, I know it's the holidays. People are cheap. People want to save. Are going to buy the smallest thing they can and thinking that they'll just buy the accessories and whatnot later. Whereas I'd
Well,
rather see the big bundle right now with everything I need. You know,
if the 3DS game is coming out this week, then I'm assuming the 3DS bundle's coming out for it this week as well, correct?
But it's a normal 3DS XL.
Okay, but it actually came out. Didn't it come out a couple of days before? Doesn't it come out
I don't
a little
remember.
bit before?
I've been looking
Okay.
at so many Smash release dates between Japan, Europe, here, and all of the different bundles that they are all going to carry, and dates and things that they're just all running together in my head right now.
Okay.
Um,
So, but I mean, about the Wii U version, and that seems to be the $25,000 question.
next year.
Next year, you've been
Next year.
adamant. You've been definitely adamant on that. And my question is, would it be a mistake to not get it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you already took it out.
Yeah, it's going to be a mistake if they don't put it out this holiday season. Because what else am I going to buy this holiday season? What else is going to make me go out and buy a Wii U? Hyrule Warriors? Bayonetta 2? Yeah, they're going to sell probably 5 systems each. But
It's already available on in the U.S. marketplace. So I just wanted on the Super Smash 3DS bundle. It is already available. It's coming out in advance of the actual Nintendo, the actual game itself. So the actual game is going to be released October 3rd. Did it come with the
game? Did it come with a digital
Yes.
copy of the game? Which means
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just. But I mean, for the Wii U, if they don't get it out, and they need to announce it by the end of this month, which is 2 days away, they need to announce that it's coming in November, maybe early December. But they need to announce it now so that people get it on their Christmas list. I don't see any other huge name titles that are for the Wii U.
Because we talked about this earlier. Hyrule Warriors, you have a great opinion on it. You think it's a really solid title.
But I'm not going to buy a system
2,
for it.
Yeah, it's not a system seller. It's not a mover for it. Bayonetta 2, it's come out. It's actually gotten a great word of mouth, just as good, if not better, than its predecessor. But it's not a system seller.
Yeah.
It's not even in Japan. It's not moving the system by itself, which is kind of disappointing in that aspect. So
I mean, they're going to create a bump, but I wouldn't even call it a speed bump. You know,
like what we talked earlier about GTA.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So that leads me to the question: do you see an issue with Nintendo as far as do you see a lot of problems with them if the Wii U doesn't get that? Because I personally have said, and I've been criticized heavily for it, that a Super Smash bundle for the Wii U is a natural, and that it basically packages itself with the characters involved, a lot of the very best that Nintendo has to offer, and I think it's just as much a glorified commercial for the Nintendo product, just as much as a great game.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the bundles out right now that I've been looking at are $300, and it's Nintendo Land, the new Super Mario Brothers, and new Luigi Mario Brothers. I think I should probably look that up before I open my big mouth next time. But it's basically a game, an expansion, and Nintendo Land plus the Wii U for $300. I think if they put Smash, the Mario and Luigi game, both, the system, the GameCube controller that's Smash branded, couple of amiibos, about $400. That would be a great bundle to me. Yes, it is more expensive, but yes,
I would do
and
$350.
also, well,
The closer you get it to the 400 break-even point, especially with the
They're
rumors that
gonna see
Xbox One
Xbox
is going to
One,
reduce its
yeah.
price, and then PlayStation 4. I mean, you're talking about Xbox One with a free game already at $399. They're talking about, like I said, going lower. PS4. I know that a lot of retailers, if there is not a bundle with a game at $399, there's going to be a lot of retailers selling a PS4 bundle with a free game at $399, especially during the Black Friday period, just to try and get people in the door.
Absolutely.
So, and the closer that Wii U gets to the next-gen systems, my fear is the less people will be interested in the product, no matter how many great things are in that box.
But the bundles that have come with Skylander or Disney Infinity over the past couple of years that are one of them at one point was $150 more than any other bundle on that system. They still sold out. They sold extremely well. And so if they do want to compare it to, Skylanders or Disney Infinity, and they put, Smash Brothers, the controller, 3 or 4 amiibos in, because I think they're like $13 each. But I mean, if they throw in enough value into it, I think they could go to 400. 350 would definitely be more preferable. But this is Nintendo we're talking about. I could see them going 400 on something like that. But if they did that, I think it would give a run. It would give the PS4 a run for its money for the holiday season. I don't think it would beat it, but it wouldn't, be tripled or quadrupled. It'd probably be like 70% of where the PlayStation 4 is.
So both you and I are in agreement that the Wii, for the Wii U to succeed, and for Nintendo to succeed as a whole,
they need a bundle with Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, basically, in a nutshell, Super Smash has to be released.
It needs a GameCube controller included with it. It needs to throw in an amiibo at the minimum. Just because if you can get an amiibo into players' hands, and it's as amazing as they make it out to be, or at least they did at E3. Once somebody has one, it's going to be it could be the Pokemon effect of I've got to get them all, And
yeah.
So getting one into players' hands is a good thing, and they need to start having more bundles that have the amiibos in them.
At least to get that idea over and that concept over as well.
Absolutely.
So we're covered Nintendo and their hopes for the future, at least the near future.
Which are again bleak because they have no games, which is a problem they've had for years.
So what I want to talk about next is, I think there's when I looked at the game releases over the next few weeks, 3 games come to mind as 3 games that I think are going to make it or break it as far as being a game that could break out in some form or fashion, or a game that could pretty much get swept up in the sea of Call of Duties and Grand Theft Autos and NBA 2Ks and things of that nature.
All our annual games.
Exactly, and could get lost in the shuffle and be floundering. And I'll first start with the one that's coming out this week, which has gotten a lot of good vibes, good reviews so far across the internet. Something that we're looking forward to very much here at Game Source about getting our hands on from our good friends at Warner Brothers, A Shadow of Mordor. And from speaking as someone from who loves the Lord of the Ring realm, my wife does as well, and obviously we named 2 kids after the Lord of the Rings series, so obviously we must have some affinity for it. Shadow of Mordor has shown.
I just thought that was an odd coincidence.
Yes, what can I say? Shadow of Mordor has presented itself as very well. But obviously you don't have the marketing campaign that some other hits like Destiny, for example, Watch Dogs and things of that nature have had. Do you see with a good enough word of mouth, do you see that actually progressing forward as a title that could be reckoned with later on this year?
Absolutely, especially if they had it launch alongside the movie. And if the movie had a trailer for it, every person who's going to go see that movie, which is like every person who's not living under a rock, would see the trailer for it. And it's got a compelling enough gameplay gimmick that I think people could be drawn to it. Yeah, it definitely is one of those games that it's could be a breakout hit, or it could be a game that gets swept under the rug. Unfortunately, it has the potential to go either way. The mechanics of it, where every game I play is going to be different. So if you and I are both playing it, and I, kill the leader of an orc troop, and you don't kill him, he manages to escape you, and he becomes your rival. You're going to have one experience where that guy is the guy you go after, and I'm going to be over here laughing at you. Haha, I killed him early on. I don't have to worry about him anymore. But I have someone else who's my rival. Or maybe Angry Nick somehow convinced him to join his side. And so now he's actually helping Nick, feeding him information, being a spy for him, things like that. Whereas he's still your rival. And so you have a different experience every time you go through the game. Recruiting the bad guys is definitely a cool thing on a game like that. I mean, it's been done in RPGs before, but it's always
RPG. But the actual concept that you can go ahead and take over and just, I guess as you progress in the game, you get the powers of manipulation, and to be able to manipulate several of the orc troops and see your orcs that you've manipulated, that you're using as your puppets, see them go up the chain of Mordor, and being able to you become ultimately more powerful because of that is awesome.
Yes.
Or the fact that if you get defeated in battle, those orcs or whatever creatures that from the Lord of the Rings realm that defeats you get strength, or even promoted for that reason. Well, those aspects were something that I wasn't aware of until very recently with the game, and those have become very intriguing and attractive aspects of it. And I really think that players, well, as I mentioned, going to mention here in a +1, later this week, if people are not listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, they have got to look out for Shadow of Mordor, because it is probably going to be one of the most, if not the most,
I think it'll be one of the best new IPs this year.
Exactly, and one of the most ground-supported IPs of this year. And not only that, it's the title that is going to come out of left field and be the most how should I say the most deserving title of its riches of any kind that are out there, because the swell of ground support for that game is going to be, I think, really, really solid. And I really think by the year's end, you're going to see a lot of good feeling, and not only from Game of the Year awards and things of that nature, but ultimately I think it will translate into sales for that matter. So.
Well, I mean, it's a Lord of the Rings game, and I've been playing Lord of the Rings games since, the Super Nintendo. I regret that purchase very, very much, but, I've been playing them off and on since, and I don't ever recall any single Lord of the Rings game that just made me go, oh my god, that game is amazing. There have been some good ones, but there's never been anything that is one of those, top-tier games that you're still talking about years later. There's never really been, okay, that Super Nintendo game was really, really bad, but since the movies, there's never been really a bad, horrible Lord of the Rings game. It's always a middle-of-the-road game. If you like Lord of the Rings or that style of game, you're going to like that game. But it's never been, amazingly good or amazingly bad. And this has the potential to be amazingly good if players get the mechanics. If players don't get the mechanics, it's going to be amazingly bad. But from what I've seen, I'm really digging it, and I almost wish I had pre-ordered a collector's edition on this one, but I'm not quite sold. I'm on the verge of being sold on this game.
Well, it's a point where you can play it as a hack and slash, you can play it as a stealth, or you can play it as a total RPG. And I think those unique aspects really make it something worthwhile. I know our review will actually be on the Game Source site this week of it as well, along with reviews of FIFA, Gauntlet, and others. I know that's something that a lot of people are going to look forward to as far as the game is concerned. But I really think it's one of going to be one of those games that's really going to come out of nowhere to surprise a lot of people. And I really think I have high hopes for it because it really looks good. I hope it does too, because it uses also the fighting techniques that the Batman Arkham Asylum series, from one of their sister studios at Warner Brothers, is so famous for. So that being said, it's got a nice pedigree, it's got a nice background, and I really, really see this being for me one of the best Lord of the Rings games. Since I played the Two Towers. I absolutely loved the Two Towers. It was mindless hack and slash, but it was as a co-op game. It really was an enjoyable experience. So I'm going to relate it to that. The last EA effort for the Lord of the Rings universe may have not been the greatest, but it certainly wasn't the worst, I should say, game I've ever played. But it was all right. I know it got trashed critically, but this I think will go a long way to redeeming that value. And then Lord of the Rings Online, that's been a semi-successful series for the past few years.
Yeah. But again, none of them are. I mean, Two Towers is. I'll give you that Two Towers is probably the best Lord of the Rings game that I can think of, and there were some. I don't want to quite call them stinkers, but subpar games. But they were not so terrible as to completely tarnish the brand the way that Aliens Colonial Marines probably is. Yes,
and I'll touch on that in a sec. War in the North was pretty solid, I think, for a 3-player action game. And then Aragorn's Quest was love it or leave it. But like I said, nothing really bad, really horrible's come out of the Lord of the Rings series. But this could be the best venture yet for the Lord of the Rings series.
It really looks like it's going to be the best one by far.
I really have a strong feeling as well, and I concur with that. And I really look for that title to be something that could see a lot more interest than what was initially perceived. And to a lot of people, this was going to be, a lot of pundits were pointing to this game as being what game that was going to get really snowed over too. And I think it may be the other way around, and it may be one of the most underappreciated games.
It's definitely going to take some word of mouth of gamers, Lord of the Rings fans, things like that, to get this game to where it deserves to be. Because it is coming out at the holiday season, competing against, the annuals, Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, NBA.
Well, I think that you'll see the shine is actually in the end of the year awards as far as it's concerned. It'll fare very highly in those awards. Not going to say it's going to win anything, but I think it'll fare very strongly because it seems to be getting it. Yes, so
$20
looks like
price cut, and the sales should take off.
Yes, and it looks like it's going to get a strong Metacritic rating overall, and Warner Bros. Should be ecstatic with the way it's progressing, and I see good things coming from that.
Absolutely.
You mentioned Aliens Colonial Marines. Well,
the worst game ever, except for maybe E.T. It's pretty close.
No, it's not the worst game ever. I played it and gave it a hearty 5 out of 10. But
we're also rounding to the nearest 5 that was not 0.
I played worse trash. There were some multiplayer aspects of that game that might be worth salvaging for maybe 10 minutes. But we move on.
To the new Aliens game.
do a new Aliens game, and that game is going to be Alien Isolation from their folks at Sega. And I just want to make sure everybody knows out there, it's coming October 7th. And it's funny because it seemed like every game in the Western Hemisphere was going to be released on October 7th a couple months ago. But it's either due to delays next year or to moving up either a week forward or a week back. It's October 7th kind of looks a little bit easier now. But Alien Isolation from our folks at Sega, this is something that they're still holding their hopes on, holding on to the Alien license, hoping that'll finally pay off for them. A lot of pundits have showed a lot of interest in it because the horror aspect of it, that it returns to that type of atmosphere. I think a lot of pundits are looking for a return to the Dead Space.
That's what it looks like to me. Was a very Dead Space game set in an Aliens universe.
And I think that's what they're asking for, they're hoping for. But my question to you is, do you really see that game actually panning out the way that Sega wants it to?
No, I don't. Because of Colonial Marines, it left such a bad taste in gamers' mouths, and gamers focus on the negative. It's kind of what we do. And I think it might be able to, if it's a good enough game, I think it might be able to get that taste out of our mouth, and so that we're more open to whatever game comes after that. And I think that's the best case scenario for Sega, is that they do have that the next game people are actually caring about. Whereas right now, I don't think many people outside of Sega and diehard Alien fans are really hoping that this game does well. Where gamers are bitter. If the last game was bad, we typically skip this one. You've seen it in quite a few other series where, they had one bad game, they gave it to a new studio, that new studio makes an amazing game. Critics adore it, but nobody goes out and buys it because they wasted their $60 on the last one.
Because they have such a bad taste in their mouths.
Yes.
Because of the last one. And so you see that happening here.
Absolutely. I mean, it might do. It should be profitable, assuming it's as good as it sounds. It should be profitable enough to where they decide, okay, we can do another game. The next game in the series, let's go ahead and greenlight it, and we'll see a sequel to it. And I think that sequel has the potential to do really, really well. At that point, I don't see this game being as good as it needs, getting the sales that style of game would have gotten if there was no Colonial Marines.
Yeah.
I think Colonial Marines has probably killed 60% of the potential sales, just right off the bat.
I can't say I blame you in that estimation, because obviously that's one of the greatest debacles of modern video gaming history, and there's still I believe there's still legal. Yeah, well, over 1 million people bought that game,
but 1 million people pre-ordered it, and then it came out and it tanked, and that's basically the same thing that happened to Colonial Marines. Everybody was all hyped for it. We saw these playable demos that were freaking amazing. And then we got the game and it was nothing like anything we had seen in the previews. So, I think people are just bitter with that.
It sounds like it, and I'm feeling it might be a hard time for Alien Isolation indeed. And the last game I wanted to talk about is something that we're also hopefully get sent to us by our good friends at Bethesda, is The Evil Within. And the reason why I include it on this list is because A, it's the major release for Bethesda this fall, and B, it's something out of their realm as far as a new IP that's not Fallout or
Elder
Elder Scrolls related. And to me, that's you're banking your entire fall season or a great chunk of it on this game because the Elder Scrolls Online has not produced the way it should have, and the console release is still months away at the most, if it is still going to come out at all on consoles. So basically, Bethesda's hopes at this point in time are going to be on that game.
I agree with that. I just have a hard time with everybody wanting to think that their MMO is going to be the Blizzard WoW Slayer. No one's even come close. Blizzard has lost, 5 million subscribers, so about 40% of their user base, and they're still triple the closest peak of anybody else. So, I mean, everybody's putting in, and they're expecting to get 5 or 10 million players in their MMO, but there's only about 10 million players playing MMOs at all right now, between all of the games. So, a lot of companies' expectations are just too high. You shouldn't expect more than 1 million subscribers. I don't know where Elder Scrolls is, but typically most of them hit, the 1 or 2 million mark for the first 2 to 3 months, and then by month 6 they're down to like 300,000 because the novelty of the game just is worn off. A lot of them try to be either extremely casual or extremely hardcore, and there's no middle ground. And a lot of them try to be, take one aspect of WoW that everybody loves, and that's the only thing in the game. They don't have the things that WoW does. But I mean, for as to the Evil Within, it definitely is the game that they're putting all of their time and effort into for this holiday season, and it could be great. But everybody hears Bethesda, and you think Fall of Duty. Wow, my brain is going to mush. Fallout or Elder Scrolls. And anything
that could be the future of gaming right there.
Yeah.
Fall of Duty.
Yes. If it is, I want 1% royalties. Just putting that out there right now. But I mean, you hear Bethesda, and you think Fallout or Elder Scrolls. And if it's not that, you're thinking, okay, is this a B studio? Is this a passion project? Is this, XYZ? You're not thinking, oh, this is the team that made, Elder Scrolls and Fallout. I can't wait for this game. So I think it's another one of those games that's kind of wait and see. And it could do really well. It could do really bad. I think it'll do better than Alien. I think it'll do worse than the Lord of the Rings game. That's just my opinion, because when you talk Bethesda, and yes, Bethesda does normally come out with a very high quality game. They set the standard for their genres, and everybody else copies them.
But there seems to be, since the fall of Resident Evil, as far as it as a survival horror game, there seems to be this clamor for the next survival horror juggernaut.
And that's also the problem, is there are so many other games like that recently.
Because Dead Space,
and they're all bad. Dead Space is good.
Was going to be that, but it decided to go away from that and become an action game.
Yeah.
Now
because they thought it would sell better.
But now you have Alien Isolation. Now you got the Evil Within. You have Silent Hills in the not too distant future. You have all these a lot of other games that are coming. Even the Order 1886, which they want to put pieces of survival horror in there as well. They all want to become that next survival horror series game. But the problem is the existing survival horror IPs want to get out of that genre. Although Resident Evil is supposed to be coming back to that genre, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So be that as it may, you and I both see that there's a limited audience for this.
Yes.
Even as great as Dead Space was, there seemed to be a limited number of people who will buy it. We had a game that we got to preview before others called Daylight, which we had high hopes on as far as a downloadable title is concerned, and even that, once it came out to the reviews and didn't promote itself as hopefully as well as they were planning on, it didn't actually come to fruition as far as a great number of sales. So I think with this renewed emphasis on survival horror is concerned, I'm not sure if it's really based in fact as far as it being a solid genre to lean on for sales. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that genre can handle a $60 title. I just think too many games recently have burned the consumer in that genre. They've got one great game and then they come out with a sequel and it's nothing like the original. They take all the bad things about it and change it, and take all the good things about it and get rid of it. A lot of the times is what happened, or the game is just terrible and overhyped to begin with. And so I think a lot of that style of game are burned out on those games. I think it's a budget $30 or $40 title. That genre has a chance, but I think it's $60. You've got to, it's got to be a tie-in. It's got to be from a studio that everybody adores for making maybe not that style of game, but something really, really similar. Like maybe if Naughty Dog made one, they've already got the action and things like that, and so it's 80% survival horror, 20% more action than what the diehards would want. But I think that's really the only way to do it, and still please the diehards. And if you can't get the diehards, normally your game is going to fail, because the diehards are who everybody looks to. Like, anytime an RPG comes out, my friends talk to me because they know I'm likely maybe not played it, but I've talked to people who have played it. And if you can't get the diehards, the fanboys, to pick up your game, that's where you're going to be in trouble. And I think the fanboys and diehards are just burnt out right now on that genre because of the lack of quality that's come in the last couple of years. If that makes any sense.
No, I actually 100% agree. I just think it's something that is very, very risky. That genre is very risky in its nature, and I think people are looking for the next Resident Evil 4, and I just think they're going to have a hard time in trying to get that.
And maybe Bethesda is a bigger name than I think, and that they can pull more than just the RPG crowd. Maybe that's true. I'd be thrilled to see Bethesda have a third tentpole that isn't, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, because they're very, very similar games. But what they do in both of them is really great.
I think they do in Dishonored. I think they do in Dishonored. Have a third tentpole.
Yeah, but can they keep that? I think the hype. I don't want to say hypothetically, the following that game has to another game without destroying it, because there's so many things about that game that it's that game that people liked, and if you change too much, which Bethesda is known to change a lot from game to game, they could be in trouble.
But Dishonored 2, I know that it's on its way. I know they're very pleased with the sales of Dishonored 1, and I think they're trying to make it a third temple.
Yeah.
Will The Evil Within be that other temple?
Or maybe a combination of the two being the third tentpole, and kind of going
something
back
like
and
that.
forth.
Until Doom comes out, the reboot of Doom.
You realize that your great grandkids are going to be the ones to see that, right? That you are never going to see that in your lifetime.
I hope we will, but you may be right. That and The Last Guardian, but
or Half-Life 3.
Yes, and Left 4 Dead 3.
Hey,
But
StarCraft 2 finally came, so I guess anything is possible.
This is true, but unfortunately, Duke Nukem Forever came eventually as well.
I've never heard of it. I've erased it from memory.
Fair enough. So this leads me to probably a last subject I want to talk about. Actually, two. I'll end it with two, like I did on the previous one. Going through all the figures and going through all the bundles that are coming out, whether it's the Sunset Overdrive bundle, which is Sunset Overdrive being a game that I think is going to have a hard time selling on its own, but being bundled with the Xbox One is very attractive because I think it's going to be a really solid entry, at least initially. Whether it's the Drive Club as far as the bundle, because I think again it's going to have the same issues as Overdrive in that it on its own won't sell, but in a package in a bundle it might be somewhat attractive. Then you have as far as the bigger games to look forward to, and with the PS4, the one thing they're lacking is that really promotable first party title coming out this year.
I think Xbox One has a slight problem too because it's only the Master Chief Collection. That's their biggest game.
But I think that they're going to center themselves around that.
Well, yes, they're going to, but I think that having to do that is pretty. They needed something bigger because a remake to me is always going to be a remake.
I think it's going to be attractive to a lot of. I'm sorry to say this, older people like you and I, because older gamers like you and I were playing Halo 2 back in 2003 and 2004, and a remastered version of that plus over 90 maps. You're talking about getting all 4 Halo games plus 90 maps. Once you try to throw that
in both the original graphics and updated new HD graphics. Yeah, I mean, yes. I think the game is going to be very attractive. I'm not saying that it won't be. I'm saying that having that as your only major exclusive for the holiday season is pulling a Nintendo. Relying on one big thing just is not smart to me. Mind you, Sony has none. Sony really has nothing this year.
In essence, they're all doing that. Sony is with packaging its Destiny because even though Destiny is available on multi-formats,
the PS4 is the definitive version of it by far.
Yeah, so it in essence they're all in the same boat. Do I think Xbox One will be more competitive? I do, in fact, and think they will be competitive.
I still don't think they're going to win.
No, I think PS4 right now is just the ticket, and with the general consumer in mind, they're slow to change in some aspects. So even if the Xbox One is definitively better in some aspects, the consumer themselves are gonna, hey, the PS4 is hot. PS4 has been selling great all year. I got to get that for my kid because that's all I know.
Yes.
The Wii U, if it doesn't come out with Super Smash Brothers, I think it's in trouble.
They'll be dead in the water this holiday season, and come January, Microsoft will have made up the 2.5 million consoles that's behind. You know. This time.
Yes. This once again, Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Lives. Please check us out at www.yourgamesource.com. If you have a question or a response or a comment or hate mail or anything you don't like, Angry Nick's Bear Hat, whatever, Game Source on Facebook. You can just send us a tweet at Game Source. You want to follow us there. We really appreciate it. We need all the likes and followers we can get so that we can get to you the fastest information possible as far as around the gaming scene and also the great stuff that we provide you here from Game Source. Or if you want to email us directly, or if you would think about even being, would like to be a part of the staff, because we're always looking for people that want to host their own podcast, be a part of podcasts, write their own reviews, write their own opinions on the gaming scene, and things of that nature.
You really can't be worse than Angry Nick, so why not?
This is true, and because he's not here, it's much easier to rip on him.
Oh, I
and
could
much more
do it to his
enjoyable.
face.
Well, I do it too every day. When he calls me on the phone, he complains about something, but that's.
I'll complain about this in a couple of days, but that's okay.
That's true. That's true. But you can always send us an email, info@yourgamesource.com, and we really, truly appreciate any support that you might want to give to us, watching, listening, reading, what have you. We truly appreciate it and value
if you think
your
we need
input.
to cover something that we aren't covering, even if it's not quite gaming related and it's nerdy related, go ahead and let us know. We're all down for getting the content that you want us to get to you.
Yep. If you'll come by our site to look at it, we'll definitely put it up there. Just let us know. info@yourgamesource.com, @GameSource on Twitter, and GameSource on Facebook. So again, it's Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Lives, my full name now.
Yeah, that's like on his official driver's license. It says Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Lives.
That'll be my new PSN name if we're ever allowed to change it. Instead of Yes Elvis Lives, it's Gerald, better known as Yes Elvis Lives. And then also, if we've got Aaron, thanks again for being a part. Anyway, as far as the best get a hold of you?
Go through our Facebook page. I don't give out my personal info. You can go, it's aaron.hicks@yourgamesource.com is directly to me, forwards to one of my other email addresses, and I do respond to it, assuming it's not complete spam or garbage. But, the Facebook page is probably one of the better ways, along with the info@yourgamesource.com, because that goes to quite a few of us, and somebody can always get back to you a lot faster than if you individually email me.
And
unless
catch all
it
the
has
great
to be
reviews.
me for whatever reason.
This is true. And catch all the great reviews that you put up on our reviews page at yourgamesource.com/reviews.html and your own page, the OSU Water Polo page, at yourgamesource.com/OSUWaterPolo.html. So once again, want to thank you for listening, watching, however you got a hold
Putting
of
up
us
with us.
today. Yes, on the Game Source podcast. Thank you again. Appreciate it. And have yourself a great day.
Do you love games, breed games, and bleed games? Then this is the crew for you. If you are interested in editorial, podcasting, live events, and exclusive content, make sure to hit us up at info@yourgamesource.com and become part of a team that is dedicated to delivering all the greatest and latest in gaming news and content, all here at yourgamesource.com.